right, welcome back to episode 89 of the Hops and Bops podcast. I am Tom, and this week we do not have Mike and Joe, unfortunately. But fortunately, I do have someone to fill their big shoes, and that's none other than my father, Bill Atkins. And we're going to be talking about some Billy Joel. We're doing a Billy Joel worst to best list. This is a bit of a different episode as well. Not just talking about one album. We're kind of go through the whole discography of one of our shared favorite artists of all time, Billy Joel, ranking his best album to his worst album. And to pair that, we're going to be drinking a B-side from Alvarium Brewing Company as a blonde ale, 4.9%. How are you doing, Bill?
I'm doing good.
I call you Dad. I don't know why I'm calling you Bill.
In case anybody hasn't heard, I'm recovering from a stroke.
That's right, yes. We do want to put a bit of a stroke warning out there.
Yeah, so excuse me if I stuttered a little bit.
You're doing well now.
But I'm sure that you can work it all out in post, so...
Yeah, I'll cut out all the stutters.
Yeah. Listen, for a Billy Joel, discussion, I'd come out of a coma for it, so...
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
We would have done it in the hospital. But before that, we're going to pop open this nice, lovely B-sides. We got this yesterday. It's a blonde ale, so it's a little bit different than what we usually do. It's definitely going to be a whole lot brighter. Oh, yeah, look at that pour. Looks good. So if you want to... Or I can pour it for you, whatever you like.
It's all right.
Looks pretty good. Definitely very, very light. I mean, that's part of the blondness to it.
Wow.
I figured it's B-side, so it'd be kind of a cool idea for a music discussion. Kind of got the headphones on the cover and everything. I pulled up a little bit of description, not too big of a description, from alvariumbeer.com. They are out of, where are they out of? New Britain. They're out of New Britain. So go check them out if you we've done a couple of their beers before, but this says utilizes Idaho 7, Azacca, and Simcoe for a delicate and multi-layer drinking experience. Soft tropical fruit, mango, citrus, and pine flavors.
All right, that's enough of the description. Let's get down to the drinking. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, it's got a good smell.
Ooh, you know what? That's pretty good. Oh, that like back taste is where you get those kind of fruitier tastes.
Oh yeah,
that's good.
Oh yeah.
I did not smell it, so that's a good smell. We got the authentic deer mugs too for this episode. Wow, that's delicious. And it was pretty cheap too, if I remember right. When I got it at the liquor store, it was only like $12-ish for a 4-pack of the tall, pint things. So they're pretty good. I would I've definitely come back to those. We've done like the Wu-Tang sour beers before. I think they had the pop or the Freezy Pop one that we did for like the Bruce Springsteen one, the red, white, and blue one. I could be wrong actually on that, but I've been to their brewery before. They have a really cool aesthetic. They've got like these honey like bee things going all around. They're in like the industrial park area of New Britain, so it's kind of an interesting setting to be in. But a lot of really great beers. They seem like they're really leading a lot of the Connecticut brewery scenes with just so many beers flooding the market. They're on John Downey Drive. They're really cool, so go check them out. And yeah, this is a cool blonde. I'm not a huge blonde guy either, so definitely something interesting.
Yeah, I'm while you're talking, I'm drinking it. So
yeah, no, trust me, I believe you.
But it is, oh my god, it's got such a great smell to it.
Yeah. God, I love that taste to it. That back taste is really it really ties everything together. Wow, that was much better than I was expecting.
Yeah, so very citrusy. So
well, I mean, yeah, that's your New England style. Yeah. It's a New England blonde ale. It's not just a blonde ale. I should mention that. So you always get those kind of citrusy flavors when you're talking about New England style beers. So
it's definitely one I would recommend to somebody.
Yeah. I definitely agree.
It's nice. It's easy. It's light.
Yeah, 4.9% is not gonna stop you from doing too much.
Yeah, I mean you could drink a bunch of them without doing too much damage. So
yeah, I definitely agree. So go check them out if you see them around. It's called B-side. Thought it was kind of interesting because we're talking about some A-sides and B-sides, which are very important in this discussion. So I figured I'd switch it up just a little bit because we're trying a whole bunch of new things. We got a new guest host with me. This is the de facto Father's Day episode, even though it won't come out on Father's Day. This is kind of a this is a kind of a gift because I haven't gotten too much yet. But we're gonna do a list, a ranking rather, of Billy Joel's best album and his worst album. So, Billy Joel, if you're not aware, which you should be aware at this point, huge artist, singer, songwriter, pianist, producer, worldwide huge talent. Obviously hasn't released an album since the early 90s, I think, with River of Dreams.
Well, technically, I mean, he has a 2011 album, which is Live at Shea Stadium.
Yeah. So
we're not going to discuss the greatest hits, the lives, the one from Russia. We're not talking about any of those. Mm-hmm. We're just going to stick to the original studio albums.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
We're not talking about any live albums. Though he does have some good live albums under his belt.
Yep.
I do like Songs in the Attic. I thought that was pretty good.
Yep.
But yeah, like you said, purely just studio releases.
Yep.
Starting from Cold Spring Harbor and ending at River of Dreams from 93. So,
yep.
I think it's interesting he hasn't really put out an album since then, because you see his contemporaries like, Springsteen or, anyone else around that time that was putting out similar music. They've been putting out more records since. And, while, yes, I do want more new Billy Joel at this point, I think some of his newer stuff could taint his, rock solid discography. I think he has one of the best discographies in all of music.
Yeah. So the other one we're not going to talk about was the piano solo. That's Fantasies and Delusions. I'm assuming.
Oh.
It was written by Billy Joel, but it's not even played by Billy Joel. It's by another pianist. So.
I didn't even know that was a thing. So we're definitely not talking about that one if I didn't even realize it was in an album till right now. So, yeah. So why don't we just get into it? So do we each want to go back and forth saying our bottom, or should we just do one list at a time?
I think we can go back and forth.
Okay.
Let's now, do that. Before we discuss this at all, just a little background to my growing up, and I have the first album I ever heard of his was Piano Man. It was my sister Pam's album, and I put it on, and it was like, okay, this is good. It's got a couple of Legend of Billy the Kid, and I'm like, all right, this is good. I wasn't a big fan, but I was also much younger. I think I was maybe in middle school, early teenager. So then I think I'm a sophomore in high school, and Paul Kelly puts on Street Life Serenade, and he puts it on headphones, puts headphones on me, and he cranks it up, and I hear a sound that I had never heard before, and I was like, oh my God, who is this? And he goes, this is Billy Joel. I go, you Piano Man? And I go, and he goes, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, he played the A side, he played the B side, and it was just phenomenal. And I was a big fan ever since then. So I've gone to see him in concert. I drove through a snowstorm to go see his canceled concert.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him at West Point do a answer, question and answer thing.
That's
so
cool.
Yeah, we've along the way I've seen him, just probably a dozen times or so.
Really?
Yeah. Hold on, I'm gonna drink some beer.
That's good. Yeah, that's the one artist that's on my bucket list. I gotta go see sometime, hopefully this summer. I think he's still doing his stay at Madison Square Garden.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. And I would like to go back and
let's plan that out.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
That would be great Father's Day tickets if you're gonna
true.
splurge for that.
All right.
Just throwing that out.
That's
there.
also a gift for me too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, similar style like we were talking about. He, obviously growing up, you would play him a lot, and then I would listen to him.
Yep.
And in the car rides to either New York or to the lake or wherever it was, he would just be playing it, and I would kind of gradually listen in on stuff. So I've been listening to him pretty much my entire life. Obviously not when it came out, but yeah, I agree. He's one of the best performers of all time. Very emotionally pulling and great story writing and lyrics and musicianship throughout all of his releases. So,
and the cool thing about him is he's gone through phases in his record career. You know, he's got the rock and roll, and then he's got the 50s doo-wop album, and he's got country, and he's got some new wave, he's got one that sounds a lot like Steely Dan, and he's even got one that, if you listen to the stories about it, you can almost put a Beatles song right up against it, and they almost companion it, you know, so.
It's true.
Yeah. We're just going to go through these top to bottom or bottom to top?
We do bottom to top.
Okay. Okay, because I have a feeling you and I are going to probably agree on the first couple and the last couple.
Okay.
So, again, these are Billy Joel albums, and, you know, trying to put a best and a worst is like, you know, who's the ugliest supermodel? You know, I mean,
that's
they're all great. You
should listen to all of them.
Yes.
Really.
Yep.
And I think a great thing about pretty much all of his main albums that we're going to be talking about, they're not incredibly long or bloated or anything. They're all relatively within like 35 to 50 minutes.
Yeah.
So they're all digestible.
Yep.
They're all, you know, around 10 tracks or so. And in those amount of times, he can just paint such a vivid picture with his music. So we would recommend pretty much all of them, at least from my perspective. To go listen to.
Even number 12 in my list is still a great album.
Yeah, I agree.
So, number 12.
All right, I will start with my my worst Billy Joel album, in my opinion, just purely based on opinions, obviously. My bottom is the Bridge album that he came out with in sometime in the 80s, I believe. Where is that? I've got it here. 1986, The Bridge. 9 songs, 40 minutes. A part of it, too, is that at least in the last, like, 2 or 3 albums, I really haven't given too much of playtime over. But there's just something about it that really doesn't mesh with a lot of his other ones. This one, he had features from Ray Charles and Cyndi Lauper on a couple tracks.
Yep.
But the songwriting, I don't think, was really as solid as a lot of his other releases. There are some shining moments. I think A Matter of Trust is a good song. That's probably my favorite song off of this album. But if a song from The Bridge usually comes on, I will tend to probably either skip it or just not really mesh with it too well. But there is reason to go listen to it. It's not like I would not recommend it at all, but it is, in my opinion, his weakest album.
Agreed. Couldn't agree more. If you have to have one at 12, it's The Bridge. Mm-hmm. Apparently, he was having some writer's block at the time.
Yeah.
He gets Ray Charles, his hero, to play on one. He gets Cyndi Lauper, who calls up and says, "Hey, what's going on?" And he says, "I guess I'm having trouble working on this album."
Yeah.
She comes down, and she puts a song together with him. So we've got some duets.
Mm-hmm.
Big Man on Mulberry Street is one of the jazziest tunes on the album.
Mm-hmm.
Big Baby Grand is a great song because it's just him and Ray. Running on Ice is it's okay. And A Matter of Trust, a lot of these songs are, they're good, but they're not
good,
Billy
not
Joel good. Yeah,
good, not great.
Yeah. So when we get to the number one, we're gonna say, oh my God, how does he have this many great hits on this album?
It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree 100% with that. So. If you had to put one, it would probably be The Bridge, but does have some upside to it. But usually I'm skipping that one.
So to me, there's a block of Billy Joel that are, to me, guaranteed, top 6. And then there's a block of 3 that I couldn't really put anywhere but in the middle, and they are the spoiler alert. They are the thematic song albums, and then the end of the career is these right here. So
yeah.
So I have Bridge as number 12. I have Stormfront as number 11.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you? Where do you have Stormfront?
I have Stormfront up a little bit higher, but we will get to it when we get there.
Okay, so in this one, he's fighting with most of his band, and he has fired everybody
Really?
Yeah, he's basically kicked everybody out of the band except his drummer at the time, Liberty DeVito. Okay. He's hired Mick Jones to from Foreigner to kind of work this whole album out. Yeah.
Okay.
He's got some good songs on it. Again, where the heck is it? That's not her style, which he wrote about his Christy Brinkley, his wife.
Now ex-wife, right?
Yeah. Yep. He also did I Go to Extremes and obviously Stormfront, and then there's the great Downeaster Alexa, he's got he's got Shameless, which is also the country guy who sang that
Shameless.
Garth Brooks, thank you from the other room. So
our assistant Lori is commenting from the our study session back there.
So again, it's there's some really catchy tunes that they could play on the radio, but again, this is the beginning of the end. It really is the.
But at 11 though.
Yeah, I have it at 11.
Okay. I mean, okay.
What do you?
At 11, I have River of Dreams at 11.
Okay.
So
because I have that as number 10.
Okay, so we'll talk about that. So, for me, 11 is River of Dreams, 1993, his last album. Again, similar to The Bridge, don't really have a lot of listening experience with this, but I do know that it's not necessarily his strongest by a wide margin. But that being said, there are a handful of tracks that I think are absolutely worth listening to. Obviously, The River of Dreams kind of became the big single off of this album. But I also think Lullaby, Goodnight My Angel is a great track.
Absolutely.
And All About Soul is just amazing as well.
Yeah.
Lullaby, I did a couple times. We did it once when I was doing the end of semester show in high school when I was in choir.
Yeah.
And I sang it for my mom and she cried in the middle of everyone.
Yeah.
And then I used it as an audition song to get into my a cappella group in college.
Yep.
And I got in. So that song has done me well over the last couple years. And it's beautiful too. It's heart-wrenching. It's touching. I believe he wrote it for his child, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. You're going to know a lot more of the history behind things. So
it's a song
experience.
for his, well, I was going to say his only daughter, but now he's got other kids. Mm-hmm. So, but it's Alexa.
Oh, okay.
So
off of the boat from Stormfront.
Yes.
Or
yes.
Downeaster,
yeah.
Alexa.
I believe it's that one, so but at the same time he's got other songs on here that he's trying just a little too hard. Great Wall of China, Shades of Grey, these are just he's trying too hard on these. So
yeah. Plus, you can tell he's getting a little bit older in his career. He's trying to push a little bit too much with his voice. He doesn't really have that same upper register that he had in the 70s and 80s. So there are songs on here that I do think are worthwhile. And there's more songs on here that I think you should listen to than The Bridge.
Yep.
Which is why I have it at 11.
Yep.
But, it's a bit later in his career. He's trying a whole bunch of different things. And
not coincidentally, but those 3 albums are the final 3 albums of his quote-unquote career, except for, greatest hits and
live albums and everything
and
like
pianos,
that. Yeah. So, all right. And you kind of spoiled it with your number 10, which is River of Dreams, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Then I will jump into my number 10, I believe, then.
Go ahead.
I have Nylon Curtain at number 10.
Ah, okay.
So,
it's interesting.
Great. I really like this album. This album has a lot of great tracks on it. But again, we're talking about Billy Joel, so it's hard to put albums in a list like this. I think beyond this point, all of these albums that we're listening to are very worthwhile, and I think deserve a lot of time listened to. So, it has great tracks like Allentown, which I believe is kind of a biopic of Allentown, Pennsylvania, where it was kind of like a mining town or some kind of steelworker town, and they all kind of moved out after a while, and it kind of just became this sad ghost town of lost dreams and everything. It's a very vivid song, and you kind of hear that steel beam or whatever it is being hit as a percussion instrument, which is so like cool and interesting, and adds a lot of
when I saw
flavor.
him in concert and he does that song, he's got a guy on the side of the stage with a steel beam and a sledgehammer.
That's so cool.
And yeah, that banging sound is just it's very
immersive.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it definitely
stroke brain.
Stroke brain. We'll stroke brain. Yeah, then it's got tracks like Pressure, which I think is really, really good as well. It kind of has that. It's like a synth sound in the chorus. That very 80s, but in a good way.
Now this is the album Nylon Curtain that when he wrote the songs, they kind of mirror Lennon-McCartney songs. So
okay.
Yeah, and there are certain songs that when you hear them played, you can say, oh, that sounded a lot like back in USSR, whatever, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this has Allentown. It has Pressure, which to me is just a fantastic song.
Yeah.
Goodnight Saigon, which if you're going to see him in concert, again, he this everything goes, stage goes black, and you hear these helicopters overhead. It sounds like they are landing in your lap.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it was just it's just a go to church moment there, because you're in Vietnam with them and you're scared shitless. So it just phenomenal.
I like Goodnight Saigon. The only thing is when you're listening to it like on like your car or like just casually, it does take a while to actually have any kind of music. It's like a full minute before you start hearing anything. So it's tough like if you're on shuffle or something.
Yeah.
But I do agree, when you get to the bulk of the song, it is a great standout in his discography.
And
live, too, it probably would be interesting.
And this album is probably his most serious of all albums, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely, he puts a lot of focus on this one.
Yeah, he's what year is Nylon Curtain?
82.
Okay, so it's right in the swing, the sweet spot of the Reagan era, you know. So
USSR.
Yeah, he's singing songs about the baby boomers. So
yeah. And also She's Right on Time is beautiful as well.
Laura.
Laura.
Yeah. Every song again. Just I put that one as my number 9. And
okay.
And the reason that it's in that second block of 3 albums is it's a theme album, it's
very thematic.
Yes. Yeah, it's working class, it's
blue collar.
Yeah, exactly. So
I would agree, yeah. It's very vivid. I think this is one of his more like you said, thematic, but also it's almost like a movie, really. I love albums like that really when you listen to it, it's almost like you're sitting back and watching like a feature-length film.
Yep.
Kind of just like as a soundtrack or something. So yeah, Nylon Curtain, great album, but again, tough to put as his top 4 or whatever.
So you have it at number 10.
I have it at number 10.
All right, so what do you have at number 9?
You're gonna not like this.
Yep.
I have
You're right, I'm not. Go ahead.
Piano Man at number 9.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
So wrong.
Unfortunate, yes. So obviously, I know you have the whole history behind it.
Yeah.
It came out in '73, his second album, but really his first breakout. Before or after Cold Spring Harbor, which he didn't really want to put out.
Yep.
But this was his first way of breaking out into the mainstream, and I totally get that. And I know Piano Man is his most popular song by a wide margin. Well, actually, not even by a wide margin, but by a fair bit. People think of Billy Joel, they think of Piano Man.
Yep.
And that's all good and dandy. I actually don't really like the song as much. I understand the cultural importance of that track and why people like it so much. And, if it's on at a bar or whatever, I'll go and sing it. But just on repeated listens doesn't really do as much as I wanted it to. But, again, some great tracks as well on this. You know, we dive into a little bit. You've got "You're My Home," just a beautiful track that I think he wrote for like his girlfriend or something.
His wife.
Or his wife when he didn't really have a lot of money.
Although it has the cheesiest line ever, my instant pleasure dome. You know, I'm like, is this really what we're going to be? We're going to be going to this this cheesiness.
That's great. But yeah, that's a great one. Captain Jack, just a fantastic Billy Joel song as well.
Billy the Kid.
Ballad of Billy the Kid. Worst Comes to Worst.
Traveling Prayer.
Yep. This is another one where I think if I maybe like spent a month listening to this album, could it go up a little bit higher? Absolutely. But I just haven't really given this one as much time. And I think part of that is that it's called Piano Man, and that song really isn't as much of a statement as I wanted it to be, or is a little overplayed.
Yep.
But I think it's a great album. Another one you really should listen to. But I have it at number 9.
It's the leading middle block because it's a cowboy album, really. I mean, Elton John's got Tumbleweed Connection. You know, I mean, this is a great time of 1973. He's now landed with Columbia, and it's got just. Oh, You're My Home, which is the one you had mentioned. I mean, it's got...
That's beautiful. I love that one.
Yeah, I mean... and the only one that doesn't seem like it's...
placed right.
The song is Piano Man.
Yeah.
You know, the rest of them are all that bum-ba-dee-da, bum-ba-dee-da, and you sing us a song, You're the Piano Man, is kind of...
It's an outlier.
Yeah, yep. But I have that as number 6. You have that as number 9.
Yes. So what is your number 9?
Nylon Curtain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yes, you did say that. All right. What is your number 8? Then?
My number 8 is, are you ready for this? It's Cold Spring Harbor.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh.
And I know you're going to disagree with that.
We're going to have some fighting words.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm right. You're wrong. So
okay.
This is how this works.
That's how this house works.
Yeah. So, he's now. I mean, I'm sure most people have know the legend of Cold Spring Harbor album.
Yeah,
it's been recorded incorrectly, so that he sounds like Mickey Mouse.
Yep.
So
I did hear about that.
Yep. So he was in a group originally called Attila. He was in a couple of groups. He was in the Hassles. He was in a group called Attila. And one of the reasons that that group failed was that he stole the drummer's wife. So so now he's going to be a singer-songwriter, sensitive man. Mm. So he puts this album out. She's Got Away. Everybody Loves You. Now.
So many good songs on that.
Yeah, Tomorrow Is the Day. But again, it's been sped up, and he threw it in the trash originally because it wasn't until it got remixed in '83 that you could hear it the way it was supposed to sound.
Yeah, and I think that's partially why I have it a lot higher because I've never really I've heard the sped up version. But usually when I'm listening, I listen basically just on Spotify or on streaming services or whatever it is. And I've only heard the correct version. So while that lore is interesting, I've only heard the real version of it. And I love it. There's so many. There's a great run of tracks. Like 1 through 8 is just fantastic for me. I really do enjoy that a lot. Nocturne and Got to Begin Again is a little rough. It's not at the top of my list, but it's up there, so a little butthurt. You got it at 8.
What do you have at 8?
I have it 8. Stormfront. I love Stormfront.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, you're wrong.
I think some of his most culturally important songs come on this album too.
Yeah.
We Didn't Start the Fire.
Yep.
Very lyric-driven based song that kind of goes. I love the way the song is written. It kind of talks about decades, or at least culturally significant eras and just mentions topics that were happening at the time and makes it into a song, and then goes from 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s all the way up to the 80s.
Yeah. As much as I like the tune of that, I'm not a big lover of the history lesson because it's cheesy. It's
a little bit of a novelty track.
Yeah.
So I get that. But I love the Downeaster Alexa.
Yeah.
Another vivid, picturesque song of
a working man's song.
Yeah, very Nylon Curtain-esque. Yep. I Go to Extremes is just a great headbanging song.
Yep.
Leningrad brings it back down, but kind of significant. But stroke brain. Sorry.
Yeah.
He kind of explains, especially in the era, because I think that was around the year the USSR kind of was tumbling down.
That was when he toured in Russia, and he met a Russian who he becomes friends with, and that's where that song comes from.
Yeah.
Yep.
But pretty just straightforward piano ballad. I mean, there are more instruments as it gets into it, but very emotionally and raw song. And then the track "And So It Goes," another just beautiful track. It's along the same lines as "Lullaby." Lori loves that song, and I agree. This was on my sleep playlist for a very long time, and I think we did it in choir for a year or so. But a lot of a lot of great underrated songs, in my opinion, show up on this album. As a whole, doesn't really do a lot for me, but in single wise, I think it does have a lot of merit. But yeah, that's why it is at 8, I believe, right? Yes.
Yeah.
So now we get into classic territory.
Yep.
We're in the top 7.
Yep. So again, on my list of middle song albums,
yep,
we've got, to me, number 7 would be "Innocent Man."
Really?
Yep. And again, it's it's a doo-wop. It's a 50s uptown girl. Tell her about it. All of those come right out of the 50s. Again, great album, but I had to put that list of the shining examples.
Yeah.
And then these are your theme songs. You got Piano Man, Cowboy album. You got Innocent Man, 50s album. You got Nylon Curtain, Beatles album. So that all of these have a theme here. So this was my number 7. He's dating Christy Brinkley and Elle Macpherson at the same time.
Yeah.
He's got Uptown Girl. Sounds a lot like the Four Seasons. He's got a song called Christy Lee. He's got Easy Money. I mean, these are all just, you can hear the Blues Brothers singing these, these kind of songs, just as they go along. So,
yeah. I had this one a little bit higher as well. Great track for track. There's really not any reason, except for maybe near the end of the album, to skip around a little bit. Well, actually, even not in the end. There's really only 2 songs that I don't really care for too much.
Yep.
But yeah, pretty much 8 out of 10 tracks. It's a great album. So, I had that one up a bit higher. But at 7, it gets a little bit harder for me to pick out albums because they're all just fantastic beyond this point. Yeah. So these are just to preface, they're very, very close in terms of ratings for at least 7 to 3.
So what's your wrongness on this one?
Shut up. I had 52nd Street at 7.
Ah, really?
Yes. This album, I think, has one of the biggest differences between A-sides and B-sides out of any of his albums.
You and I are not going to be compatible on this one. So
it's a great album. It has some of his most important songs, I would say. Big Shot, great track, needs to be in the conversation for top 15, top 20 Billy Joel songs.
Yeah.
Same thing with Honesty.
Yep.
Same thing for My Life. Same thing for Zanzibar, which actually Zanzibar got pretty popular on TikTok a while ago. So if you know Billy Joel and you're
Stiletto, I mean, all of these are just to me.
Stiletto's great too.
To me, you are so far off on this one. I have this one as my number 2 album.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Just beyond Rosalinda's Eyes and Half of My
Until the Night. Just
not a huge fan of those. So, and maybe again, not as culturally strong as the first 4 tracks, or at least first 5 tracks. So, but the first half of the album is just immaculate. Really stands out in his discography.
Now it's interesting because the Zanzibar, the line in there, Rose, he knows he's such a credit to the game.
I love that line.
But the Yankees grab the headlines every time. I mean, he's talking about Pete Rose. This was before the gambling scandal, so he's changed that since then. And
oh, really?
Yeah. I can't remember what it is right now, but yeah, he's taken that right out of the equation. So,
and I like how he flips that later in the verse right after that. He's like, "I'm trying to get to second base, and I'd steal it if she only gave the sign." So another like reference to baseball as well in there. I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yep.
Just a great album. I really do love it.
And there's a lot of Steely Dan theme in this album.
Really?
There's a solo in it from one of the Steely Dan guys. The saxophone player is from Steely Dan. So
yeah.
Okay.
That's interesting. I actually didn't know that, so good to know. But yeah, what is your number 7?
Innocent Man was my number 7.
Oh, that's right. You were talking about that. Okay. Yep. What is your number 6?
Piano Man is my number 6.
Okay.
So, again, I broke this into a group of 5, a group of 4, and then a group of 3. And, again, the middle group, which is, 6, 7, 8, and 9, Piano Man is the best of the cowboy albums, whatever we want to call that. To me, it's just a theme that runs through, through the whole album.
Yeah.
So, what did you have at 6?
At 6, I had the album Glass Houses. Yes,
oh my goodness.
I did have that at 6. Again, that's what I'm saying. It's tough, especially at this point in the list, to put these albums into a ranking. It's not like you shouldn't go listen to this. I think this is a great album. I know I keep saying that, but these albums deserve to have your full attention for the entire thing.
Yep.
Because his discography is so thick and has great ones in it, saying that this is a 6th best album doesn't mean that you shouldn't give it the time of day. I absolutely think that you should. This album is very similar to 52nd Street in terms of like track listing for me. A lot of the A side of this is just fantastic. These 2 albums have some of the best A sides in his entire catalog. You May Be Right. Sometimes a Fantasy. Don't Ask Me Why. It's Still Rock and Roll to Me.
Sleeping with the Television On.
All for Lena.
Yeah. Closer to the Borderline. Yep.
Yeah, but when it gets to the second half, again, same thing. I think it does have a stronger second half. I do like Sleeping with the Television On. I do like C'est à toi, You Were the One.
Yeah.
But in terms of the other ones, doesn't really get it up there for me. But
Still Rock and Roll to Me.
Still Rock and Roll to Me is great.
Yeah.
Has some of his best songs on there as well. But I do think it's slightly above 52nd Street in terms of quality for me. But if you look in any used record store, you'll find 57 copies of Glass Houses.
Yes.
So, deserves to have your full attention for the whole thing. I do think it's a classic album at this point. But again, great catalog. Tough to put it any higher for me.
Yep. I had this one I couldn't decide between 52nd Street and Glass Houses as 2 and 3.
Really?
So this one was number 3 to me. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just I mean every song on this is just phenomenal. It's
it's definitely one of his best.
Yeah. Yep. I mean and his minor, the song number 9 on here, those are great. Sleeping with the Television On or Closer to the Borderline. Those are or All for Lena. It's just you like to find the hidden treasures on this, and it's not the big hits, which are great anyway, but it's it's the little hidden treasures that I found on this album to be worthy of number 3.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. A little bit higher than I had it, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Now we're going to get into the top 5.
The top 5, yes.
And I think we're going to agree. We're going to agree on number 1. I know that. I
think so. Yes.
Yep. And then maybe 4 and 5, maybe.
Maybe, yes. Right. So number 5, and this was tough.
Yeah.
I put Street Life Serenade at number 5.
Yes, I did too.
Oh, okay. There we go. We're getting back there. So this was one of the first vinyls I ever had when I was kind of starting my vinyl collection. And so I would have this on a lot when I was, because I don't really listen to as many vinyls now, but I still like collecting them and listening to them every now and then.
Yeah.
But this one I got a lot of playtime on the record player, and it's I think this is one of his more thematic albums, especially around the time. I think this is his 3rd or 4th album.
This would be
his 3rd if you're counting Cold Spring Harbor. Yep. This came right after Piano Man, so this is his 3rd album. This is, I think, by far his most underrated album.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Street Life Serenader paints a very great picture of just someone on the street trying to earn some money, trying to make a name for himself, which I think he was starting to become.
He's in Los Angeles at this time.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, this one is just stunning.
This is the album that I mentioned early on. My friend Paul Kelly put the headphones on, cranked up Street Life Serenade, and I just fell in love with this album. Now, on this album, you're going to have 2 anomalies where you're going to have 2 songs by a singer-songwriter that are instrumentals.
Yeah.
You're going to have
Root Beer Rag.
Root Beer Rag and
Mexican Connection?
Mexican Connection, yep. Very good.
Which I think were both the ending of the vinyl, or maybe Roberta was on the end of B-side, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. It's very interesting. And the progression of this too is kind of interesting to see, because it starts off Street Life Serenade or Serenader, which is interesting. Serenader, but the album is called Street Life Serenade.
Yeah.
I don't know. Starts off, just playing on the side of the street trying to get some money, and then you get to The Entertainer, where he kind of slowly becomes this huge superstar overnight, or not overnight, but working pretty hard. And I think that kind of mirrors his career a little bit too, because like you're saying, he started off in 3 or 4 different bands before he kind of hit it big with Cold Spring Harbor and Piano Man specifically. I think they really took off. So very, very interesting way of describing his own life in a sense.
Yep.
So
I mean, he's got songs like Los Angelinos in here, Great Suburban Showdown. I mean, they're Americana, they're it's just kind of life in the suburbs in California at the time.
Yeah. Also love Roberta.
Oh my God, can't love Roberta enough. Yep.
Yeah. Another kind of a ballad, I would say, towards a specific person that I think he just nails throughout his whole career. Anytime you see just a person's name as a song title, you're like, this is gonna be a good song.
Yeah. And he could have put that on Cold Spring Harbor. I mean, that's it was that kind of a song that
it is. In that same vein. So great album. Definitely deserves to be in the top 5 of his catalog.
And the Entertainer, oh my God, it's just such a great song.
Yeah.
I am an entertainer, been all around the world, played all kinds of palaces, laid all kinds of girls. Just that kind of opens up everything right there, in that couple of lines right there.
Yeah. So very, very cool way of progressing on that one.
I learned to dance with my hand in my pants, let him rub my neck, let him write me a check, and I'll go my merry way.
And I love the
synthesizer or whatever,
whatever it is. So great album on that one.
Yep. So you and I agree on that one.
I think we'll agree on the next one too, unless you have this one. No, you don't. I'm pretty sure we'll have the same number 4. Why don't you tell me what number 4 is?
Number 4 should be Turnstiles.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely should be Turnstiles.
Yeah.
So
came right out after Street Life Serenade.
Yeah. Yes. So 71 Cold Spring Harbor comes out. 73 Piano Man comes out. Mm-hmm. Huge hit. 74 Street Life Serenade comes out. And then 76 Turnstiles comes out. So
yes.
And then
succession.
Stranger, and you get the rest of those that are coming out pretty quickly after that. So it's say goodbye to Hollywood. It's I mean, it's All You Want to Do is Dance. New York State of Mind. I Love These Days. Miami 2017. Lights Go Out on Broadway. And years later, after September 11th, he sings that song, and he goes, I didn't think this was actually going to be, a true story.
Yeah.
So, and then also his nickname comes from this album, Angry Young Man.
Oh,
yeah. So, he's banging on those keyboards.
Love that song.
Yeah.
One of my, I think that might be my at least top 5 favorite Billy Joel songs of all time.
Yeah.
Prelude/Angry Young Man.
And I don't know if he still does it, because years ago he had a motorcycle accident. He busted up his hand and he couldn't play it the same way that he could play it on the album. So
yeah.
But it's just a wonderful, wonderful album.
Yeah.
Summer Highland Falls. I mean, my goodness,
this is by far, I think, his most New York album of all time. And it's interesting, I was going into the city for work. I just started, and I was like, I gotta listen to something. But if I'm in the city, what am I going to listen to? And so I put on Billy Joel. Miami 2017 comes on. Prelude, Angry Young Man comes on. New York State of Mind comes on. Summer Highland Falls. All these tracks just capsulize this city and the people and the time of when he was recording this so well. There's no better encapsulation of a city and a time, much like Turnstiles is. And I think some of his best songs come on here again, like I've been saying. I've even just started listening to James again. That song is really, really good, too.
Yep.
Very low-key, some kind of, I don't know if it's a Hammond organ or some kind of electronic organ, whatever it is, but just plays into that super well. A lot of great horn samples, a lot of great instrumentation choice across this whole thing. And even some of the least listened to songs, I think, are great as well. I even like I Love These Days. But, yeah, just an incredible way of doing this. And, again, he's still pretty early in his career, so to come out with albums like this so early on is very impressive.
Yep. And it's not a hit. Not a hit at all.
Really?
No. So,
New York State of Mind?
No.
Okay.
I mean, that actually probably comes around during the Songs in the Attic, where they come back to that. So, but I mean, commercially, it's not a hit. So
it flopped, really.
I mean, think about it. So Cold Spring Harbor comes out. It's it doesn't come out because they don't release it at first.
Yep.
Piano Man comes out, big hit. Mm-hmm. Street Life Serenade, a couple of hits, but nothing major. Turnstiles, another one where you got some nice album songs on there, but not a hit at all. So
yeah.
We're starting to get a little nervous at Columbia with this singer songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
So
didn't think this would put him on thin ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Miami 2017 is a really interesting song as well.
Yep.
It's kind of just depicting some big apocalyptic event happening.
Yeah.
Pick the Yankees
September
up for
11th.
free.
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly it.
Yeah. When you listen to this album for the first time, or when it came out, and you saw it said 2017, you're like, oh man, that's so far in the future.
Yeah.
Now it's 5 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
I remember that when that
Pick the Yankees up for free.
Yep. So yeah, I really do love this. Ooh, that'll be a good audio pickup on there. So, yeah, a lot of great underrated songs on this that I think for fans, especially at the time, flew under the radar. But one of his best albums for sure.
So, what do you have now at number 3? I'm sitting there with Glass Houses,
okay.
which we've discussed.
I mean, at this point, all of them except for one have been discussed.
Yep.
But my number 3 is actually An Innocent Man.
Okay, yep.
And I'm talking purely on songs on this one. You know, you have them like Turnstiles and like Street Life Serenade that kind of paint a bigger picture.
Yep.
And have a bit more of a vivid surrounding to it. And, you know, this one I listen purely off of singles, you know. I think he came out with songs that really just, well, not only are they radio worthy, but I think they are very valid on their own terms. Easy Money, great track.
Yep.
And obviously he's doing a little bit of the doo-wop sound, but I think his writing and his, you know, singing and instrumentation choices fit it perfectly. You know, if he did this album 12 times in a row, maybe his discography wouldn't be that great, but I think he just nailed it on this one. I think on some albums, he has a bit of a weak closer. The last couple tracks aren't that strong, but he really ends up nailing it on the end of An Innocent Man. So that's at number 3. So I really, really do love that.
Number 3, now number 2.
Casey Kasem.
What do you have at number 2?
Number 2, I have Cold Spring Harbor.
Okay.
So I freaking love this album.
Yep.
This album has some of... This album, actually... I know I said Street Life Serenade was his most underrated album. I lie. Cold Spring Harbor is by far and away his most underrated album.
I disagree a little bit, but that's great.
A lot more soft-spoken, not as strong or as widely performed or as instrumentally dense as some of his other albums, but I think just purely bare-bones songwriting ability, it is top-notch. It has some of his most raw and emotional tracks on this, and it's pretty short. It's really digestible if you're not in the mood to listen to a 40-50 minute album. It's just under half an hour, 10 tracks, and it's beautiful. I think he didn't really know what he had with it on this one, and I think if I remember correctly, he wrote this not to be like as himself. He wrote it for like other people, and I think it was just kind of like a test to see if anyone wanted to buy these tracks, but then he just decided to put them out by himself, which is why I think it was a little rushed, a little high-pitched, whatever it is. But it's a fantastic album. A lot of deep cuts on here that I think if you listen from 1 to 8, it's great. I think it holds its own for a long period of time, and one of the most underrated for me in his discography.
Nope, no argument there, except that I will. I have at number 2. I have 52nd Street.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
And then we get to number 1.
Yeah, and I'm glad we can both agree on this.
I think everybody can agree on this one. I mean, it's The Stranger.
Yes.
Again, we've come back from Turnstiles. Didn't do so great, you know. All these other ones that we're struggling with, and then out comes The Stranger, and it just explodes into a whole nother level. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's got a ballad, Just the Way You Are. It's just scenes from an Italian restaurant. It's just. The whole thing is from top to bottom, A side, B side, it doesn't matter. Every song on this album is great. Yep.
This so I know on the show we talk about albums that we give 10s to, or like 10 out of 10s, and I only have about a couple. This is a 10 out of 10 album for me. This is actually, and I'm gonna say this is my favorite album of all time. I'm gonna say it. Oh, I've had that opinion for a while.
Okay, yep. I'm not gonna argue with you. I don't think it's not my favorite album of all time, but this album of the 12 we've gone through is easily a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, this is a perfect album for me.
Yeah,
there's really no track on here that doesn't do anything for me. Even Everybody Has a Dream, I think, is a great closer as well.
And that side note, that one was my prom song.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, that's cute. Yep. God, you're old.
So, one of my high school teachers went to high school with in Hicksville with Billy Joel.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, just again, track for track for track, great track listing. You got Moving Out, Anthony's song, talking about, maybe settling down and buying a house isn't really necessarily the best or like fulfilling thing. Getting a house out in Hackensack is that all you get for your money kind of thing.
Yep.
The Stranger talks about him kind of falling in love or maybe having some kind of romantic relationship with someone only to realize that they've had this mask on the whole time and they weren't really who they say they were, and then he sees the true person. He got kicked right between the eyes when he figured it out. Just the Way You Are, beautiful love song that don't go changing to try to please me.
Yep. Get it right the first time. I mean, that one hits you right over the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Scenes from Italian Restaurant comes on. It's basically its own album and its own song.
It's Brenda and Eddie. I mean, come on. Who are we kidding here?
It's a beautiful biopic of these two people kind of falling in love, similar to Moving Out. Falling in love, moving in together, not really having the right financial responsibilities, starting to fight, then moving back out. They try to pick up the pieces. And then talking about, an Italian restaurant, bottle of red, bottle of white, whatever kind of mood you're in tonight.
Yeah, comes right back to how the story goes through, and then it comes right back to where they they start again. So,
and that track instrumentally is just immaculate.
Even Vienna, which is the least known track on the album,
I would disagree.
It's still great.
On Spotify, it has the most plays on this album. It has 244 million. So it's been picking up steam recently. So I love Vienna. Kind of like, if you don't know what to do, kind of go to Vienna, figure out your own happy place.
Now I am Just the Way You Are, Sappy. That's my favorite Billy Joel song ever.
It's a great track.
Yeah.
Doesn't he not do it in concerts anymore?
Probably, yeah.
I thought you said that a while ago.
Yeah.
Then you got Only the Good Die Young, kind of like similar style of, I'd rather laugh with the sinners than cry with the saints. The sinners are much more fun.
Yep.
Only the good die young. So, great one as well. She's Always a Woman. Another similar Just the Way You Are style of track of another beautiful ballad written about a woman. Get Her Right the First Time, kind of talking about first impressions being very important.
Get it right the first time. That's the main thing. Yep.
Lori loves that song as well.
Again, from the backgrounds, yep.
Yes, thank you. We phoned a friend on that one.
Yeah.
And wrapping up with Everybody Has a Dream, I think, is also a fantastic closing track as well. Kind of leaving it on that "What's My Dream" kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's a perfect album for me. There's really no topping it, in my opinion.
Yep.
And deserves all the praise it gets. So
home run. And I guarantee you that anybody who puts out a top 12 best to worst Billy Joel albums, everybody will have Stranger as their number one album.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, and that is the list. That's Billy Joel worst to best in our opinion. We agreed, we disagreed on a couple things, but at least we got our number one the same.
Yeah, actually, we got number one right, and we got number 12 right. I think
and other 4 and 5, we got Turnstiles and Street Life Serenade.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
And that's it. That is the list. There's nothing to really rate in terms of the albums, although I did give The Stranger a 10. Eventually, we will do a full length episode on that. I do want to get to that, but that will come with time. But that is the list. And while we're here, we might as well rate B-side from Alvarium Brewing Company, the New England Blonde Ale. I drank all of mine. It's also a great beer. Had a lot of great notes. Again, that New England citrusy style pops in at the back end. Not too heavy, which I think is good. Kind of downplays the hoppiness of it, which can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on what your taste preference is. I think I'm gonna give it a high rating because I think it was really good. I'm gonna give it about an 8.
That's funny you should say that because I was gonna give it an 8.
Oh wow, jeez.
Yeah,
we're on the same page.
I mean, there's no aftertaste.
No.
It smelled great. It went down easy. I wish it was a little bit colder, but that's because of
pretty warm out.
Yeah, you just didn't have it in the refrigerator, so
yeah.
But yes, it's just fantastic. Yep.
Yeah.
8 out of 10. Yep.
I would agree. So Yeah, I usually shout him out, so I'll give some shout outs. Billy Joel is I think he's in like we were saying before, kind of doing a residence at MSG. I don't know if that's still happening.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Okay, so if you want to go see him, he'll definitely be there. One thing I'm a little disappointed on Billy Joel is, and I mean it's nothing against him, obviously. When he gets a little bit older, he kind of pitches everything down a little bit so that it can more suit his vocal style.
Careful.
But he still has those chops. He still plays very well. I'm assuming puts on a great show if you're still into that. So hopefully we'll be going to see him sometime this summer.
Yeah.
We'll try to get some plans to go see that.
Yeah. Father's Day.
Maybe, yeah. We'll see. And Alvarium, alvariumbeer.com if you want to go visit them.
In New Britain.
In New Britain.
Yep.
They have a really cool brewery. They do a lot of events there. Go there, enjoy their beer. They have a lot of great selections. Can't say too much more about them. So,
yeah. Also, a Father's Day gift.
Yeah,
just gonna throw that out there. Also,
I have 3 more of these. If you want, I'll bring them down to the lake. But yeah, yes. that's the that is the episode. That is episode 89. I would like to thank you, my dad, Bill, for being here. Did pretty well with speaking.
With my stroke brain. Yeah,
stroke brain held in there. I was surprised you could speak better sometimes than I could on some things.
Yeah.
Episode 90 is coming up next. I'm not entirely sure what that's going to be. We were going to do an episode with Mike virtually, so we're going to try to plan that out sometime this week. But things are a little tough. They're just finishing up school, and they've got their jobs to worry about. And
I would like to apologize to Mike and Joe for being so good on this.
You said the same thing last year.
Yeah, I'm just
the exact same thing.
I'm just putting it out there that, I'm sorry that I'm so good.
Oh, you're an athlete and a genius.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
said by you.
Yep.
Yeah, so that is the episode. Thank you guys for listening. Hops and Bops podcast is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, anywhere you get your streaming service of choice. If you can get a podcast, we're most likely there. Go listen to us. Go listen to our back catalog. I'm going to be picking out some more Billy Joel albums to do in full on the podcast for the boys to listen to. So if you enjoyed this album, stay tuned. There will be more of those coming soon. Follow us on Instagram, on Twitter. We have Twitter now. TikTok, I'm still putting out some videos. Facebook, all the good social media platforms. Go find us there. But yeah, for my dad, Bill, and I, that has been the episode. Thank you guys for listening, and we will see you next time.
Peace. Let's drink another one of these beers.
Yeah, let's do it.